I love the Passion Planner because you've got a snapshot view of your week. You've got space to just ideate, and you've got space to outline your to-dos. So it's a great tool, but it doesn't have to be this tool. But I want you to consider, as you're going to create a morning that works for you, a powerful morning, a powerful you, that designing that space and structure is an important part of the process. So I wake up, I'll run you through mine real quick. I wake up at 4, need to be at work at 6, 3 days a week. So that's not a lot of, it sounds like a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time. If I want to get 5 miles of running in, about 35 minutes for me, so I've got to budget that. Then there's self-care aspects of showering, or meditating 10 minutes. Like this can move really, really quick, can fill that time. So whatever your space or structure is, how long is that going to take? Okay, if I'm walking 20 minutes, if I'm meditating 20 minutes, if I'm journaling, well, that's going to take me 15 minutes. Just sketch this out for you about what you think that can look like. That work doesn't all have to happen now, but if it doesn't happen, I'm thinking that the next steps of implementation are also not going to happen. So just pay attention to how you're structuring and designing that time. I also want to acknowledge that with this, we have different daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and so on and so forth, seasonal rhythms and things that shift. So where I get in trouble sometimes is making this really solid about time. If I've got more flexible structure on the weekends, rather than saying, okay, I have to meditate 10 minutes, I have to do this 20 minutes, and make it very segmented and one after the other, I like to make a little more room to just go with the flow. But then know that way you're not feeling like, oh man, I missed out on my morning this morning, or you don't want to be kicking yourself at the end of the day feeling like I should have done something. You want to give yourself permission to do what actually matters to you. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. And then there's the distinction of time versus energy. Like I've got 2 hours of time, but what's my energy level? What was my sleep like the night before? What am I getting ready to do after this? If I've got a really physical job, I don't want to be so tired at the end of my powerful morning that I'm exhausted the rest of my day. So revitalized, energized. Mornings where I've done like a really long run, and then I find myself the rest of the day dragging a little bit, you just got to count the cost of that. Okay? So be aware of time. This is energy management, not just time management that we're talking about. So if you've already started to lay out the time frame, if you've already started to schedule your habits, what those are and how you're going to do those, awesome. We're 2/3 of the way there in cultivating a powerful morning, at least on paper. There's always the practice of it. So now I want to talk about goals. Because we have the pleasure of working on this as well tomorrow, just know that there will be some things that we don't touch on in full today, and will be explored in our Relentless Forward Progress time together tomorrow. With goals, we already talked about breakthrough. We've got our circumstances, we've got our boxes, our stories, our barriers. We've got those sitting in front of us, and we've got to look beyond those. One of the ways of doing that is with a goal. So I'm not there yet, but I can be, and I will be. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to do something that sounds challenging or scary. I'm just going to speak it into the universe and put it out there. Okay? That's what a goal is, seeing and committing to a possibility. Now, with goals, we've got different sizes of goals. Who here sets yearly goals for their business? Awesome. How about for your personal life? Cool. Now with those yearly goals, who chunks those down into quarterly goals? Who chunks those down into monthly goals? And where does that touch your week or your day? If I've got a goal of running a marathon, 26.2 miles all at once. If I've got a goal of doing that, there's a training process to get me there if I'm not in shape for that. So what do you do? Run me your name.
Daryl.
Daryl? What do you do to set that goal?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of different avenues that I work in. One of the things I do coach, and I coach people on running.
Okay. Awesome.
I've run for years. But I have, like for that, I have that all mapped out to see people like who want to achieve those goals. I mean, even for me personally, what's going to happen each day to get to that next point.
Right.
I mean, so, and I have that written out and shared with people who I'm coaching, and then also with me.
And then putting that plan into practice. Like,
Yes.
here are the workouts. So today's speed work. Go. Awesome.
And then, of course, it's specific to what you're going to do.
Right, right. That was an example. A great example. Thank you. With that, so there's the forward orientation. I want you to consider also there's this reverse engineering. Like, I'm not at this goal yet. But if I'm running, and we're just going to play with the running metaphor because it's in my framework. You can find others that work for you. We'll work with it. But if I'm going to run 26.2 miles and feel like a person at the end of it, like there's going to be a state of being that I'm not at right now. Okay, so what does that feel like and what's required to get there? Okay, well I would be able to run this far. Can't run that far yet. So how do I reverse engineer that process back to today? You guys do this with your business all the time. Maybe you don't even think about it. But looking at the goal and then stepping back, what's it going to take to get there? Sometimes what helps me is starting at the finish and thinking my way back through, because it can just seem like the dots don't connect right now. I don't see how to get there. Well, I have to be able to run 26 miles, which means I got to run close to that, which means I got to run close to that, which means I'm going to have to work on speed, which means I'm going to have to work on endurance, which one step at a time. Is that making sense? So take those goals and chunk them down. Now where this comes back to your morning is that we're going to touch on this goal every day. Even if that's as simple as just putting it in front of you on a dream board, and like I have a goal of traveling to 10 countries. What are you doing today to get closer to that goal? Does the work you're doing connect to that goal? Is the step you're taking actually fueling that goal? Or not? And if you're not, is it really a goal you have? So what I like to use as a metric for goal setting is inspiration and instigation. Everybody say inspiration.
Inspiration.
Everybody say instigation.
Instigation.
So inspiration is, does this actually connect with what I care about? Do I actually want this? Sometimes I set goals for myself that aren't my goals. They're other people's goals. They're things I feel like I should do for the sake of somebody else, for the sake of looking a certain way, feeling a certain way. But if I don't actually care about it, why am I setting this goal? Is that an amen? Hallelujah! Come on, somebody.
Hallelujah.
How do you weigh these goals with just living in the now?
Oh.
I mean, because you could think so future that you're missing the sort of the day to day, right?
You're at tomorrow already. So the irony of your statement is
in the
that
future.
the irony of this conversation is like that's some of what we're looking into tomorrow. And so what I want to say to that today is that there's that practice of being the now. We'll talk a little more about, but there's also the having a destination. It is a joy to me. Like having a sense of I'm on this process, I'm on this journey, I'm going somewhere, but I'm not so fixated on where I'm going that I can't enjoy the next step.
Would you call that your purpose, or is that goal your purpose?
It connects with my purpose. So, to take inspiration a little deeper, if I've got a goal to run a 50-mile ultramarathon. That's a personal goal to me, and it matters not just for the physical, but because I want to be at the next level of running shape for me. So I care about it. It scares the heck out of me. But to do that, I have to be on the run and in the process. Like I can't, if I'm just thinking about running, I'm still not running. And even as I'm running, if I'm just thinking about, well, this isn't 50 miles, this isn't 50 miles, that goes back into the self-defeating stories we were talking about. So I enjoy stretching myself and challenging myself, but it's inviting me back into that process. Does that connect with what you're saying?
It does, but is everyone that way, though? Is
Maybe not.
everyone...
So with that question of inspiration, there's also the instigation. The reason I set goals is to get myself on the hook. In college, I found myself procrastinating a lot. having a deadline was great, but it also meant that a lot of that great work happened the night before, the morning of.
I'll give you a game in there.
Thanks for the sympathy points, I appreciate it.
Perform well under pressure.
Yes, thanks for the affirmation. With that, there was more that I could have done at the outset, and when those deadlines, when those external pressures went away, it was like the work stopped. So, setting a goal for me is one way of creating a deadline, creating an impetus for action. These connect with what I care about. These connect with what I'm trying to achieve anyway. And if they don't, then I'm not going to do them. But creating that goal, creating that deadline, I don't fail if I get there and I don't meet my goal. I learn where I am and then I stretch to the next. Make sense? So with that, embrace the butterflies, aka do something that scares you. The reason to do something that scares you is not because you need to be a thrill seeker. You don't have to jump out of a helicopter. You don't have to, some of you already have. You don't have to become a deep sea diver overnight. But if you have this big goal and it doesn't challenge your comfort zone at all, is it really a big goal? Is it really a stretch for you? And if you're happy where you are, doing all that you're doing, then great, celebrate that. But if something doesn't seem like it's all of how you want to dream, then probably going to have to lean outside of that comfort zone to get there. So embracing the butterflies. Now, added bonus, if you do something that scares you every day. Yay. But I had this moment when my family went on a vacation to Israel and Egypt. We were at Caesarea, whichever one is on the Mediterranean. There's two Caesareas, I don't remember which one's which. But there's these Herodian era ruins, and I'm walking out onto the rocks in the Mediterranean Sea, and it's gorgeous, it's like turquoise, the water looks great, and I'm thinking, I should jump in. I should totally just jump in. And I didn't. Group went back down the beach, and I walked back down towards them, and had a great rest of the trip, but the whole rest of the trip I was thinking, like, I should have just jumped in.
Regret.
Yep. It wasn't that I did anything wrong. It wasn't that, I don't know what would have scared me about even just jumping in the water, but just doing it, living and having those experiences. I feel like so much of our time we box ourselves into what we're supposed to be doing, that we're not experiencing. We're not being our inner child. We're not expressing our real selves. We're just being what we're supposed to be doing, what we're supposed to do, jumping through the hoops. So we've covered, call it the basics, we've covered the basics of cultivating a powerful morning. And there's a lot of content, even as I've sought to keep it simple and to stay more on the surface. There's a lot there, and I got that. Thanks for being with me in the process. The reminder of cultivating a powerful morning, this is about being a powerful you, the full, vibrant, authentic you. Here's this. Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. As yourself. It's like, let that mess with you for a second. What if, in fact, our love for other people, even our love of God, had to go through this bottleneck called self? What if the way I loved myself actually limited or expanded the way that I showed up and loved other people? What if my thinking that, well, I'm going to take care of others, so I'm not going to take care of me, what if that actually limited my ability to take care of other people? You know the oxygen mask drill, the conversation that a flight attendant walks you through at the outset? So if you're next to a child or someone, like, put on your own mask first, and then help them put theirs on. That's what this is for. What I'm not saying is spend your whole day going around like, I'm oblivious to the needs of my team, I'm oblivious to the needs of those around me, I'm awesome, I'm awesome, I'm awesome. Well, I didn't have enough personal me time, so I'm going to take that out on everybody else today. What if this invitation into space is, I'm going to take care of me, so that when my kid wakes up at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be all there. Now, I'm not going to be thinking about this. I'm not going to be thinking about the things I should have, could have, would have done. I'm not going to be thinking. I'm going to be all there. Does that make sense? Is that anything?
Yes.
Great. The idea is that if your work is meaningful and purposeful, if you're living into your dream, then you gotta be all there. So we've got one next step. And this is for you. I would love to do this part for you. I'd love to have like an hour conversation with each of you and like tease these things out, and there's just not going to be time for that. But craft, converse, and commit. This isn't about impressing me or anybody else with your whatever your writing is. And maybe you're only tweaking one thing about what you do or about how you are treating yourself. Practicing that love of self to practice that love of others. But your assignment as part of your 30-day plan going out of here is, what am I committing to for my mornings? And how is that rippling into my life? With that, I want to read you one more thing. Actually, close your eyes. It'd be really great. Everybody who's comfortable, feel free to close your eyes with this. You matter. You are a gift. Let your light shine. Be the full, authentic, and powerful you.